As a person with a disability, very interested in all issues that affect the disability community, and the disability community is a quarter of the population. So using the Indivisible methods to address many of those issues, I think is going to be very important. So that's kind of what I'm here tonight to kind of refresh, and get started down a new path now that things have changed a little bit.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
You're awesome. We're here at
Hey, Lenny. You're always so busy.
I'm just saying
that I didn't want to disrupt you.
I just started my live stream.
It's that iconic red light. Everybody's looking for their red light and then it goes nuts. Yeah. You don't need somebody to raise their hand. I think I told you my history with as a kid at Notre Dame for hockey. That was really my introduction to Notre Dame. My dad.
Nice to meet you. He was on the call yesterday. Yeah. Excellent.
Okay. I'm Dr. Laura Chamberlain, and I'm with Clean County County. Yes, exactly. We've run in.
Would you like to say on the live stream?
Sure. Sure.
So introduce yourself and what you're doing.
Absolutely. So I'm Dr. Laura Chamberlain. I'm with Clean Cook County. We are an election integrity group in Chicago and suburban Cook County, and we encourage everybody to vote on a paper ballot to sign up to be an election judge, right? And then sign up on cleancountcookcounty.org, cleancountcookcounty.org to be an audit monitor. We got to go in after the election and count some votes and make sure they're counting them correctly. So I would like to come and talk to your Indivisible group. Exactly, there you go. I would like to, because there's so much more. It's about what candidates can do, what voters can do, and what citizens can do to help protect our elections in Chicago and suburban Cook County. So definitely, cleancountcookcounty.org. Thanks. No, I want you to keep that because you're going to invite me to come to your group. To talk to you. There's more to the story than this. There are things that candidates can do.
They did a little feature on him because I guess he was a really great player.
Bill NARAL. I remember that.
Yeah.
Scott, where are you, man? Here in the theater with 1229 West Belmont. Please join us if you are in the neighborhood. Hi, how are you?
All right.
We're going to do that too. All right. So we're here in the lobby of theater. We're so thrilled to have Donald Puppers here with us.
Yeah, go for our email.
We're live streaming.
Where do you guys live?
Can I introduce you to
Hi.
online? Let us know who you are. Diane Hewitt.
Sure, I'm Diane Hewitt. I'm the Vice Chair of Lyle Township and leader in Indivisible debate.
How does it feel to have Sean Caston in
It's
office?
awesome. It's super exciting.
6th District. How does it feel to have Sean Caston in office?
Oh, wonderful. Absolutely wonderful.
Breath of fresh air.
Yes. And Lauren. Got Lauren in DuPage County as well. Yeah.
Yes.
What are you going to do with your free time?
Free time. There's no free time.
There's no work to do.
Yeah. Running for school board, running for city council.
Holding our current elected officials accountable still.
Yeah.
I still do that.
So there's still a lot of stuff to do.
Lots to do.
A lot of work to do.
Okay. Where should people go to find out what to do next?
Left Out DuPage.
Left out your page.
Left Out DuPage. We are an all-encompassing conglomerate aggregate for events. You will have all the township, all the DuPage County Party organizations, the activist organizations, and the unions and the candidates all in one place. So there's not too many places like that.
And that's at leftout.com.
Leftoutdupage.org.
Okay,
and we have a Facebook page, a website, and an email list. So join us any way you want.
Awesome. Thank you.
We did it.
Fearless leader.
I'm live streaming you.
You are. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Illinois has 30 groups.
I'm sorry, Rachel Valerie.
Hello.
Tell us what you're doing here.
We are engaging people to sign up to volunteer, to help us with our cause, to fight against gun violence. That's what we're doing. And we're getting a very big response, which is awesome. This is great. There's so many people here. Yes, we do.
How do people find you?
They can go to momsdemandaction.org. We are on Facebook under Illinois Moms. We are on Facebook under Moms Demand Action Chicago. You can also text JOIN to 6, what is it? I just slipped my mind. 64433. What's our texting? 64433?
Right, it's
Yes.
on here.
So they can text.
So in the red at the bottom, 64433.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Just want to know how to find your own.
You guys are really good at that. Thank you, Lenny. How are you?
It's very good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Oh my gosh, this is great. Thank you for coming.
I'm glad to help, and I'm glad to help out Valerie. And
Do you know Melissa?
Hi, it's really nice to meet you.
Melissa is she took over for me being the Chicago manager, group manager. So
Awesome.
she's taken over for me now that I'm Deputy Illinois.
Ah, yay.
Yes.
Thank you. We need that Chicago connection. And we love your dress.
It's hard.
Yes, I'm super impressed.
T-shirt person, but it's amazing, right?
I'm a sucker.
I don't have anything with me. Yeah. Was my hair kind of funny? Oh, are you doing the introduction?
Yeah, this is Juliet from Be My Vote. Thank you so
Yes.
much for doing all that you did during
Oh my gosh, it was great.
getting those kids engaged and involved. And tell us about it. Yeah.
Yep, just to describe it. Well, hashtag Be My Vote was a campaign for kids under 18s. You know, we don't want to like diminish their importance in the way that we're planning our futures because it's their futures. Anyway, Be My Vote was for under 18s who couldn't vote last year in the midterms, for them to get involved and to ask the people that they know to show up for them at the polls because, you know, low voter turnout does not help. And if we can get out to the polls and we can show up and we can do our civic duty, it's going to be better for all of us, and especially for the young ones coming up after us. It's their world that we're leaving, and we need to do a better job of taking care of it. So that's the campaign. BeMyVote.us is the URL. Check us out. Thanks.
How's it going?
We're doing well.
Thank you for doing this.
Somebody was looking for you, Janet Sanchez. Did
Oh,
she find you?
no, but I did find her friend, so maybe I'll run into her. I'm live streaming. I just want to say hi.
Are you? Oh, great.
Hi.
Live
Is it
streaming.
starting now?
Yeah, how's it going up here?
We've run out of programs.
We've run out of programs.
We're having a wonderful problem. We have more people than we thought, so that's great.
That's awesome.
That's great.
Thank you, Carol. Thank
And
you, Dick,
everybody
for doing
has a great spirit.
Yay. Woo-hoo. And we got our raffle tickets going on.
We have the raffle tickets and here are the prizes.
Oh, good. We got our raffle in a few minutes. Karen, it's 5 after 7.
Should we start hurting?
Do you want to give a synopsis of why we're here for our live streamers?
Hi, live streamers. We're here to party because it is Happy Blue Year, the 116th Congress, the most women and people of color ever, Nancy Pelosi, Lauren Underwood, and that's just the beginning. And we're drinking. So we're here to celebrate, and we're here to get excited about tearing up 2019. So let's go. Start drinking.
There's so many. I really like the work.
Is this what we're doing? Yes, it is. All right. Oh, wait. Where's? Oh, you're putting. I thought you were asking me to carry it around because I'm tall. Hi, everybody. The internet.
Hey, yes.
Totally. Hey. Absolutely. And just real quick before I forget, National would like a backlog on number of attendees. Nice. Very nice. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Here we go.
Oh, that's on it. Everybody.
Okay, now we can. Yeah, so far it's not been so bad.
She's the other woman.
Was she okay?
She's got me on the live stream.
How was she?
I missed you. She escaped. I'd like to be on her live stream. Say hi to you. I don't want We are live streaming right now. I'm gonna put it up here until we're okay with that?
Like this or like, oh, hi.
Everybody.
You're so excited. I love being on camera.
Say hi to the internet. Lynn has asked me to go around interviewing folks about why they got involved and that kind of stuff.
Now have main sponsors.
Let the world know.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't know what to say. Are we being taped right now?
Oh, it's live. It's live on the internet. So anyone that's like watching it on our Facebook group basically
Well,
can see it.
I've been involved my whole life in social justice.
It's
this is what I've been doing my whole life, and voting is real important. If you don't vote, you don't have a say. Yes, we're twins.
Right. That explains the matching.
And we do voting. Our parents always dressed us alike. Yes, and they said 1 twin, 2 twin. Those were our names. 1 twin, 2 twin, 2 twin, 1 twin. But voting is just super, super important. If you don't vote, you don't have a say. Just keep your mouth quiet. No action is action. You have no one to blame but yourself, and it's real important when we see all our rights being taken away, people being treated like dirt, poor children just being ignored. So that's why I'm here, to help get the word out, get people invested in working and stuff, interested, invested.
Yeah, like get them to realize that, hey, you got some skin in the game yourself.
Exactly. Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're not untouched.
Right. We're all, no one person is an island, right?
Right, exactly.
We need a little more solidarity.
Yes. Happy New Year, and remember, get out the vote. Let's keep it blue. Thank you.
All right, I love it. Keep it blue.
So it doesn't get edited or anything?
No, it's live. It's live. These 3 people from outside of the area that couldn't be here tonight are watching. I mean, they could if it. But you're looking great in there. Hey guys, how's it going? Just doing some interviews here. Talking to folks, seeing where they're coming from. We got folks from all over Chicago land today.
Tony for Chicago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So what are you guys doing today?
So we're here, talking to folks, seeing where they stand, see if you're a good candidate for the area, and for Tony, we want to have a conversation with them, having introduce Tony from out to one of our events. Get to know Tony, see if they're willing to volunteer, get the word out, and get do a little phone banking, maybe some canvassing with us.
At Circle, they had some kind of thing that I filled something out. I thought it was because I had a name. How are you?
My new friend. Yeah, help me out here.
Do I need to hold that for you?
No, I'm trying to remember your name.
Oh, Boyd.
Boyd. I thought it was that. So Lenny has asked me to go around interviewing folks, talking about why they're getting involved. It's a live stream on our Facebook feed. If you're interested,
You guys can sit on the stage.
sit down for a minute.
Why am I getting involved?
You mind if I put the screen towards you? I didn't want to tape you surreptitiously.
Right, because do we have a law with that, like recording?
I
don't
do not
know.
know
I'm just
about
kidding.
where Illinois stands, but yeah.
I don't have any specific answers. That's the scary thing. Ooh, I'm gonna start talking. Can I think about it? Think about what I have to say. Because why I am is because everything matters, but that's too broad and simplistic.
Yeah, I normally say, what other choice you got? But, some people think that's kind of flippant, so.
It's not.
slip past you here. I'm just trying to get a quick
I'm Karen Goldman, who's
audience.
that we've been
This is,
I know you report, and then you put together, and I'm like,
oh, there's Lenny. Good to see you.
Made like that. This one. Have them made, yes. You already have it.
okay.
Are you gonna need this?
Yeah. Okay, good.
I got a couple interviews. We'll see what Scott thinks of them. So I'll get off the stage and hi, Internet.
Thank you, Mark.
Yep.
All right. Pass them up and back, please. Woo!
Thank you for setting up on this, Annie.
No problem.
I appreciate it. Will you invite somebody else to sit up here with you? It's like a wedding dance. You just need to invite people. Can you? And don't be nervous. Please don't mind.
All right, we're starting the raffle. Come on in, everybody. We're starting the raffle. And you can grab a seat and sit over here. If there isn't anyone over there, you're welcome to go over here, buy the food. What's left of
There's a
it?
microphone. Turn it on. We need you to use it.
I don't know. I don't think I need it.
I think you need it. Just don't.
I usually blow it out.
I know. That's okay. Don't blow it out.
We need a cheer. Is there a cheer?
Yeah. Start a cheer.
I know. What do we say?
Whose house? Whose house? Whose house? What happened today? Look what you did! Look what you guys did! You, every single one of you sitting here right now, you flipped the house! So we're here to celebrate. Number one, celebrate, because you deserve it. You canvassed, you wrote postcards, you phone bank, you text bank, you talked to your grandpa at Thanksgiving. You did whatever you could. So thank you. We are so grateful. We are Indivisible, but everybody else too. All of our friends and partners are here. That's what it's all about. Partnering and listening and friendship and connections and sharing positive values. So, number one, party, because Nancy Pelosi is the Speaker of the House. She's 78 years old. Lauren Underwood is the youngest African-American woman ever. You did this. Every single one of you did this. You are amazing. I'm going to try not to cry. So anyways, so we're here to celebrate. We're here to talk about what we're going to do after we party. We're going to then take it all into 2019 and keep going and keep going and keep going and get rid of Mitch McConnell and get rid of everybody else. Because that's how we roll. That's how we roll here in Chicago and Chicagoland. So starting that up, we're going to give away gifts because it's a party. All right, so we're going to do the raffle here and then we're going to get into the program. All right, so you got to be present to win. Everybody got your tickets? All right, and get ready to come down. All right, here we go. The first ticket, check your number.
What's the price?
Oh, you'll find out. 927817. Oh my God, come on in! Yes! Yes! Give it up. Whose house? Whose house? Whose house? Whose house? Whose house? All right, you get to pick. Do you want the Lauren Underwood bag of activism? Do you want the notorious RBG bag of activism? Or the Nancy Pelosi bag of activism? Yes! Give it up. All kinds of goodies in there for activism and drinking adult style. Thank you very much. What's your name? What's your name?
Jane.
Give it up for Jane. All right. Second one. Here we go. Get right, your tickets. Pray to your gods. Okay. Second one is 927812. Right here! Give it up, give it up. All right, which one do you want? Lauren Underwood bag of activism or Nancy Pelosi? All right, and hold on. You know, have you guys read the Indivisible guide? If not, you should. That's your homework. Do you know how many times Indivisible is mentioned in there? Indivisible Illinois is featured in that publication. Yeah, so read it and you got to represent. But speaking of which, Indivisible National, Marcus, where's Marcus? Anyways, he's drinking somewhere. So National loves us. They put us in the guide because we're so active, and so they have donated a $60 restaurant certificate as well. So there you go. Okay. Laura, thank you very much. Grab a seat. All right. Be nice to her. She has a restaurant coupon. Okay. All right. Final one. Look at your tickets here. 927842. 927842. Going once. Loser. Okay. Sorry. You gotta show up, right? That's the number one part of activism. Show up. All right, here we go. 927815. Right here. Yeah! It's Missy here. You get Nancy Pelosi. And then you also get one of our most fabulous prizes. One of our fabulous members has the resist buttons here, the Resistance Button Club, and you get a 6-month subscription, whereas Kelly's right there. Missy talked to Kelly before you leave because the first one drops next week. Yes. Just like Jay-Z. All right. Thank you for all the people that donated and that cared and showed up, and that's part of the Resistance too, is you get prizes, you get swag. All right, Lenny.
All right. We are...
Hi. And you know what? Let's bring the room down just a little bit. You know how the Oscars have that memory lane thing? Well, luckily it's not as tragic as that, but it's just as exciting. So, and I think that you also did the video, right?
I did also do the video.
So Kelly also crafted this amazing video. So let's bring the room down a little bit and let's reflect on the wonderful things we did this year. Here we go.
Place the flowers in the vase that you brought today. Staring at the fire, flowers and flowers. To you, they will songs all night long. you both today.
Here's national.
All right, hang on. We are having a technical difficulty.
One thing we need to adjust the cropping.
I guess so.
We want to be able to see everything.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. But I don't know how to. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how to fix it.
So who knows who those people are? Who's those people? Yes, who is it? Yeah, what are their names? Ezra and Leah, right? They know how awesome we are, and when we said we were doing this Happy Blue Year, they were like, of course you are, because you're awesome. And they said they wanted to make a video for it, so.
Yes, thank you, Tristan. Everyone, give a round of applause for our tech.
All right, so while he's working his magic, after this we're gonna have a panel, right? So we're gonna learn some stuff about how we're gonna take everything we learned nationally and apply it locally, right? One of the things, awesome, right? Agreed, quotes, ditto. And then we have a special guest. Who's our special guest? Is he here yet? Yes, I see the distinguished gray in there. So what we're gonna do with him is a mock town hall. Because the whole reason we did this, we wanted to party. I keep saying that because that's what I need. But we wanted to practice our skills. Some of you are great in some areas and maybe not in others. That's why we wanted to have all these stations today. Did people learn stuff? Did anybody learn? What did you learn? What's something somebody learned from one of the tables tonight?
You know what? I'm just going to draw.
What was that?
Okay.
Twitter. What did you learn about Twitter? What is the Twitter? I tweeted. No, that's great. So we want you to practice and get better at confidence. So many of you jumped into stuff you had no idea about what you were doing, and you did it. So we're going to practice that a little bit later with the town hall. All right? But here we go with Leah and Ezra.
I'm Ezra Levin. We're the co-executive directors of Indivisible. Incredibly excited to be joining you in this brave new political world that you helped create. We have spent 2 years of playing defense, 2 years of resisting, and now we get to go on offense. Now we get to insist on our values, and that's because of this movement that you are part of. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
And part of what we're doing today is taking a stand for our values. We are standing up and fighting for HR 1, for a real democracy reform package. To take on gerrymandering, to take on election security, and to get money out of politics. And that is so important because it is about remaking American democracy. It is about creating a democracy that works for all of us. And by taking action today, you are joining a powerhouse group, Indivisible, Illinois, and you are joining a nationwide movement that is going to be reshaping what is politically possible in this country.
Let's go do this.
Let's do this.
Let's get it on. Oh. And we're, do you know who this is? Ready to make it all happen. Here she is.
Thank you. I have few words to say except for that I'm so grateful that you have showed up today. So you know that much of this work is about everyone showing up. So thank you for doing that today, yesterday, and moving on. We are going to win, and we're going to do this together. Yes. So the next part of our program is all about coalition building. And for us at Indivisible, it's been so essential for us to connect with those who've been working on these issues way before us. We are not leading so much as following those who have worked on these issues in the past. And you know that together we can do this and win. I don't know about you, but I started in this movement because Trump got elected, and I got this. I've got a daughter, you know. I remember that day very clearly, sitting in front of the TV and watching that TV turn from blue to red, and not knowing what to say to her, but also knowing that there has got to be hope. So finding the Women's March was the first step for me. I don't know about you, but it's the first rally that I ever did. How about you? From there, we found the Indivisible Guide, and we found that if we do things together, we could be so much more powerful. So moving forward, we won in November. I'm wearing my Lauren Underwood shirt. I have a little crush on her, I have to say. We love her very much, and we are so excited for her to be in office, along with Sean Caston, who won. So there are many more elections along the way. There's one in Chicago coming up very soon, as well as in many counties in Illinois. So please plug into your local county races, especially, I'm telling those folks in IL6, because those leaders are moving on to run for office. Who are the 10 people that you're bringing up behind you? Who are the 10 volunteers that are going to take your place? Because we need to have a flow. As you go out for whatever reason, you know, for personal reasons, or you actually run for office, there needs to be 10 people coming in, because you know we need to grow this movement together. And that's why we're here, right? Right. So today we've got a panel of amazing friends and activists, and not everybody could fit at this table, but we do have, please join me now, Jackie Algie and Valerie, and also Kim Hunt, who is moderating, and we have Erica Bray Parker. Thank you. Please come on. And we've got Karina from League of Women Voters, and we've got Graciela from Protect Our Care, Illinois. And I'm going to hand the mic over to Kim Hunt. I want to say one more thing, because I don't know if I will come back on the stage except for to take a picture of you at the end, so please stay until the end. This is very important, because you know if we didn't take a picture, it didn't happen. I believe in us. I believe in you. I will always be there, and I know that you are going to be there too. So let's do this together. I will challenge you to do one thing before you leave this room today, and that is to connect two people that you don't know with each other. There you go. We tripled our impact right there. So, whose house? Our house! 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 All right. Woo!
Thank you for getting everybody revved up there, Lenny. Happy Blue Year, y'all. So my name is Kim Hunt. I'm executive director of an organization called Pride Action Tank, which sits under the AIDS Foundation of Chicago, where I'm also the senior director of policy and advocacy operations. It is an honor to be here tonight. Thank you, Indivisible, Illinois, for putting together this amazing event. Thank all of you for showing up tonight. As someone said earlier, that is half the battle, is showing up. And you have showed up. Democracy looks really beautiful from this stage. And I want to thank the panelists for being here, and thank you for asking me to be here to moderate. We are going to talk about coalitions. And we're talking about coalitions because, as an old African proverb says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And so we're talking about going together. So the way this is going to work, we have a short amount of time to cover a lot of ground. So we're gonna have the panelists introduce themselves for a couple minutes. We're gonna have a few minutes of questions that I will give them, and then we're gonna turn it over to you for about 10 minutes of Q&A, and then we're gonna wrap up for the next thing, because this is a full agenda. And we have one microphone, so bear with us. So I'm gonna pass the mic and ask our wonderful panelists to introduce themselves, tell us about you, and tell us a little bit about your organization.
My name is Samina Mustafa. I'm here representing the League of Women Voters of Chicago. This February 14th, we will celebrate 99 years of existence. And we're founded in Chicago. Our centennial is being planned as we speak. I'm here because I'm a board member, but I'm also the co-chair of our Committee on Diversity and Inclusion, where we're going to be having a discussion series on specifically racial equity and justice, and also we're organizing aldermanic and city treasurer forums throughout the city. So stay tuned, and I'll talk more about that later.
That's great. So good evening.
Yeah, I'd like people to talk back to me. I'm Jackie Algie, and I am board president for Women's March Chicago. See a show of hands on how many march. Woo! That's what I'm talking about. So we're going to talk more about Women's March Chicago and what the plans are for January, and just share out and see where you are. Thank you.
Hi everybody, I'm Graciela Guzman. Good evening, buenas noches. There we go, there's Pam. So I'm with Protect Our Care Illinois. We are a statewide coalition made up of about 145 groups in county. We're all joined by one mission of defending and expanding the Affordable Care Act and Medicaid, making sure that more people in our state have coverage.
Hi, my name is Erica Ray Parker. I am on the leadership team of Indivisible DuPage, and we helped to flip the 6th and the 14th. With your help, it took a coalition for sure. I'm also up here as part of my work. I am a teacher, and I'm in the Illinois Education Association, and we did a lot of coalition building there too. So thanks.
Hi, I'm Valerie Samudas, and I'm the Deputy Chapter Leader for Moms Demand Action Illinois. Sounds like many of you know what Moms does. We are out here, grassroots, boots on the ground, trying to fight against gun violence.
Now the long journey back. This is going to be interesting. Okay, isn't that an amazing panel? Yeah. So let us jump right in. I was listening to a podcast today, an interview of Robin Robinson from Good Morning America, and she was talking about diversity and inclusion, and she's a former athlete, right? So she always talks about athletics, and she said diversity is being on the bench. Inclusion is being in the game. So I want to ask the panelists, when you're building coalitions, how do you make sure that the right people are at the table? And in your experience, what are some successful strategies for doing that? Jackie, let's start with you and go around and then come back.
So one of the things that we've done is to make sure that we talk to everyone. I mean, communication is key, right? We don't work from the premise of top down or this organization is running it, because if we did, that would defeat the purpose of being a coalition. A coalition is a small or large group of people who come together for one specific purpose, right? And so we work hard to make sure that all voices are heard, that it's equal justice for everyone that is participating, and everyone does their part. And that seems to work really well when we're putting together coalition tables.
There's a phrase I grew up with my mom saying, which is basically, show me who your friends are and I can know everything about you, right? And I think the hard reflection of coalition work is that sometimes we get stuck in our own muck and mess and silo, right? And so when we talk about the table, I know for us at Protect Our Care, it's been, since I've been at the coalition manager role now in the year, it's been, there's a table, but there's folks that are not even at the table and are talking about, how do I bring in my own chair? How do I bring in my own table? Do I need to bring in my own food? Right, as if they don't already deserve a place at this like prefabricated table, right? So it's just even breaking down the notion of who should be there and recognizing that we each have agency and merit. And we've been working really hard this year to just reach out to as many of you as possible. For me, that really meant I was at 26 sites in Illinois over 8 weeks, in large part thanks to so many of you here in this room. But that really meant like listening to the nitty gritty of like, hey, no one's come down to Carbondale in a long time. Like, I'm gonna say that, why is that, right? And I think just acknowledging those truths and putting them to bear so that we can really come to bring to fruition what coalitions are meant to do and work.
So I guess as a public school teacher in a pretty diverse community out in the suburbs, my basic go-to is there is no right person to be on the board. It's everybody. It's a right fit. It's what are they going to do? And I think at Indivisible DuPage, we've done a good job of that. We have a 5-member leadership team, which is kind of big, but we all have a specific role. We have identified our strengths and weaknesses, and we welcome everyone in. And again, it's more of, well, what are, come to our meeting and let's find a place for you. So that's how we operate, which is a success.
So one of the things that I try to say is we need everyone at the table, and there's room for everyone at the table. And if there isn't, we're going to make room. And as she said, we bring our own chair, we bring our own table. There has to be diversity and inclusion when we're talking about coalitions. So just making sure that the people that are at the table are there to do the work, I think is most important. So you always need bodies. We know there's strength in numbers, but we want to make sure that those folks that are showing up at the table are in it and are doing the work with the rest of us.
I'm going to just kind of go away from what everyone else has said. I don't want to repeat everybody, but one of the things I found is always really valuable, and as entering an established organization and getting folks to think about organizations outside of an established organization, is being curious, having empathy. There's a term, a buzzword that has been around for a while that Kimberly Crenshaw came up with, which is intersectionality. And to me, intersectionality is actually an expression of empathy. And use the phrase, getting the right people in the room, right people on the bus. There's also redefining what it means to win. And I think that's also really being clear about why you're building a coalition. And I know we're probably going to get to it, but the concept what are we trying to achieve together? And are we all thinking in the same way? Because a half-empty bus of the right people is better than a full bus of the wrong people.
Okay, so let's go there. So we know coalitions are made up of people, and people have various motivations. Organizations have various motivations, and sometimes those motivations may be in conflict with the greater good of the coalition. So in your experiences, what have you seen that has worked, that has kept more of the balance? I don't know if there's a perfect balance, but what has worked that has helped keep that balance in alignment? And we can go down the line.
So I'm wearing, I feel like Office Space. I've got a couple of pins on there. I've got like pieces of flair. And it's small, not everyone can see us, but this is We Are NTA. This is the school National Teachers Academy in the South Loop. And I played like a minuscule role in it, and I helped arrange some meetings for some of the folks on the local school council. But just for those of you who don't know what the story is, it's a majority African American school that was a level 1 school, the top rated school that CPS wanted to close. And the community came together and said, we're going to fight this. It kind of got ambushed by the Board of Ed, and they organized community meetings, they organized protests, and finally they actually reached out to the Chicago Lawyers Committee. They ended up suing, and they won. And the thing that really strikes me is this is a multiracial community. The kids are being taught a social justice curriculum. I mean, like, I know. Every time I think of the story, I'm like, oh, yeah. It's incredible. So it had all those layers. All of the things that you expect, parents, teachers, community members, other folks who have resources came together and they said, we're going to fight this, and we're going to make this happen. So that, to me, that's like, there's going to be a movie, We Are NTA. I'm saying it right now.
So I'll use Women's March 2017. When people came together, they were tired, they were frustrated, they were upset, they were disappointed at the outcome of the election, but yet they wanted to do something. And so they came together, thousands, in fact, millions of people around the country, and most of those being women. But we came together because we wanted to make a difference. We had a shared vision, shared interest, and that was to make change happen. We weren't going to stand for being mistreated, disrespected any longer by anyone. And that's what we came together for. That's very similar to what coalitions do. We come together with a shared interest and purpose. And one of the things that helps us, to your question, Kim, to keep alive and going and making coalitions work, is that we really work together to identify ourselves as one. It's not I'm this, we're this, because we do have various organizations and people who support the same thing, but we come together as one, and that makes a really, really big difference.
I think for us, like, keeping it real, right, you said coalitions are made up of humans and just distinct motivations and emotions and all of those things, right? I think for us, it's been very fruitful and important to lean into tension. I think a lot of the times when there's fights and discord and tension, we tend to label it as a failure, or hey, this blew up, or hey, we need to walk away from that. And I love to sit in tension because that means we're doing something right. If you're uncomfortable, you need to explore that and sit in it and fester in it and figure out why that is, right? And in the exploration of that, we expand each other's knowledge and comfort levels and senses of where our resources really come to bear. And I say that open-heartedly because I feel like for Protect Our Care, just being in partnership with Indivisible, we're a 501c3. So for a lot of us, when you walked into us and said, hey, like, we're ready to throw down the street, and we were like, okay, as a 501c3, we can't do that right now, but you can, right? And as Indivisibles, you picked up the ... and went places where we couldn't go, right? And thank you. And thank you for that, right? And I think that's the beauty of the coalition, is also knowing which resources are going to come to bear at different times, knowing that there's going to be times where you're going to be able to do things that I can't, and there's going to be times where I'm going to have to lean in and throw my muscle, and I've been working out, so I'm good, and I'll do it, right? So I think there's a little bit of that. The other mention that I'll share, though, I think is just knowing that while there's discord, there always has to be mutual respect.
Thank you.
And that we have to continue fostering that internally. If we're broken to a point where we can't show mutual respect to each other in our own house, there's no chance of that externally when we're trying to fend. for one each other. So that's just another question for me. Well, I guess when you first asked the question, I was thrown into a memory from the beginning stages of Indivisible DuPage. And we did, we have a lot of great activist personalities, and uncomfortable is okay. But we eventually came to the conclusion we had a dysfunctional personality. And what I have to say, I think what got us through it is being part of a larger organization like Indivisible. We had that shared vision that we can go back to. This is our philosophy. And if this isn't what we're doing, then that action needs to stop. So we were able to, having a shared vision really on paper helped us to hold people accountable when you really needed to, when it went beyond just being uncomfortable. And then as a team, I remember distinctly there were 3 people that went and spoke to this individual together about the shared vision and how what their actions were in complete conflict. And it was resolved, and it was resolved very well. So.
Yes, thank you, Erica.
So I think keeping in mind when we do this work that we have a lot of passion, and there's a lot of us that express our passion, in quotes, differently. So, but we need that passion, and like you said, we need everybody at the table. We need the people that can be the muscle. We need the people that are willing to practice civil disobedience, and then we've got those folks, in organizations that don't do that. So, but what you have to remember is, or what we want people to remember is, when you walk into the door of whatever coalition you're a part of, that we are there for a particular reason, and we need everybody to check their egos at the door and to get down to business and do the work. So you're going to run into people that have different motives, but that's the world. That is what it is. But having everyone have a voice, holding people accountable, and letting them know that we're here for a reason and we've got work to do.
Yes.
And if you're, if this isn't the place for you, then maybe there's another place for you. Because there's a lot to do. We have a lot of work to do, and we don't have time to babysit.
Yeah.
Spoken like a mom. Lenny, how are we doing on time?
How are we doing on time? 8 minutes. 8 minutes to 8. We're doing okay.
So we have 8 minutes?
We have 8 minutes. We have 8 minutes. We're not
So
we have now 7 minutes.
Let me just shut up then. Okay. So I think we're gonna need to take a couple of questions from the audience then. Is there a way you want to do this? Does anyone have questions for the panel about coalitions? I'm gonna do the Oprah and hold the mic. Never let go of the mic. I know, right? I'll let Lenny do that.
I have a lot of good things to say. Valerie, when you were talking about checking the ego and how we had to have a purpose, you touched something in me. I was thinking, wow, when you're working with someone, because once you've worked with a bunch of people for a while, I know I fall down sometimes, or I'm irritating to some people, and I might get irritated. And sometimes I think the way to draw back the commitment and focus on what we're all trying to accomplish is to focus on what we're trying to accomplish. So that's it.
That's good.
Thank you all for being so articulate and inspiring. And one thing that I'm acknowledging right now and listening to the way that you're speaking from different perspectives, I've been involved in movements for a long time. And what I'm noticing in this new movement is the coalition is a variety of voice. It's very different. It's very different. I've been to lots of different protests, and I've been a participant in progressive movements. And one of the things that has been challenging in the past is acknowledging the diversity of voice, with regard to different ideas or movements that you want to get behind. And, people will show up and they have their mission, their goal, their statements that they really want to get behind. and how that can seem messy. That can seem very messy to the outside world, to people who are not involved. So I think it'd be interesting to hear from you guys, kind of, how are you reckoning with that challenge within your movements?
I think one of the things we've been fortunate is to build relationships. It's relationship building. So I can say to someone across the table that I don't think that's a good idea, and I don't think we have the resources for that, because that takes some time to be able to be honest. So there's some major relationship building that happens.
Going along that line, I think it's really important to have those difficult conversations. And one of the things that when I started the committee on the conversation about the diversity, we actually did a survey. And that was even just pushing to get that survey to know what our membership was composed of was a challenge. It was really uncomfortable because people said, well, why would you want to know how many people of color are in the... Well, then we found out that 87% of the membership is white. And I was the only Asian. So, those are the things that... So that was not a comfortable conversation, but we, sort of have pushed past it, and now we're continuing to have those conversations. So it's willing to be uncomfortable. And I think that's something that is part of movement building, that I think people are thinking like everybody's gonna come together and it's gonna be beautiful and sing Kumbaya, but it's gonna be, there's times when it's gonna be painful.
Well, I'd say what works for me is back to what you said, relationship building. If I've got to have a tough conversation, the tough conversation happens better if I have a relationship. I mean, for me, that's the starting point or base point.
I would agree, just as a really small sliver, right? I think the component of relationship building where I finally get to understand where your point of view comes from. One, I'm getting to understand you better, but in real time, I have just more info, right? There's so many times that we misconstrue what we're doing and saying. It's just outright volatile and aggressive, and sometimes it's just coming from a different space. And if we're just kind and extend grace and understanding to each other, we achieve more with that touch than with just coming at each other.
What you guys said.
One more question. We'll take one more question. I'm interrupting. What? No? Uh-oh, you got pointing at me right here. Are you pointing? Huh? I know.
Yes, thank you very much for being here tonight. I'm asking Jackie. What is happening with the National Women's March as far as, Chicago, and your take on what's happening to the national? Speaking of coalition.
I guess it goes to you.
So I don't have enough time to answer the question completely, but I'll give you an abbreviated answer if that's okay. So in 2017, we organized marches around the country and the world, other parts of the world. One of those marches that kind of led that movement, if you would, was the march that took place in Washington, D.C. There was another march that was organized here in Chicago, which is why we have Women's March Chicago. And most of the affiliate marches around the country tag themselves as the city or state that they organized in. The National Women's March came under some controversy because of Savior's Day attendance of one of the co-chairs of the march from New York. And if you're familiar with the Savior's Day, this is something that the Nation of Islam does every year. It's their annual, and Minister Farrakhan at that march or that event recognized Tamika Mallory, who was the co-chair in attendance, and also made some comments and statements with regard to our Jewish brothers and sisters. That was not, and as far as I'm concerned, it was not appropriate, and it was very mean-spirited. But nevertheless, it was attached and associated to that march or to that group of women who were organizing that march. And so Women's March Chicago is not affiliated with the National Women's March, Inc. Our affiliation is with March On, which is another national march organization, coalition, if you would, since we're talking coalition, of 40 plus affiliate marches around the country. And we have always identified ourselves as associated with March On. We are self-sustained, we do our own fundraising, and we march to our own drum beat. Does that help?
Thank you, Jackie. So I know we're short on time. I encourage you to talk to these amazing folks during the evening and hear about some of the things that they have coming up, because we're going to get the hook pretty soon. I just want to name a few takeaways for folks, because we covered a lot of ground in a short period of time. Some things that I heard are, we all have agency. There's no right person. It's everyone. Intersectionality is an expression of empathy. A half-empty bus with the right people is better than a full bus with the wrong people. I'm using that right. Lean into the attention with mutual respect. We need the passion. We ain't got time to babysit. And if you aren't uncomfortable, you're not doing it right.
Yes.
So thank you all for being here. I have to do this. Whose house? Whose house? Whose house? Thank you. Give it up. Oh, look at all women. Surprise, surprise. Women get it done. All right, guys, we are moving into the next portion. Thank you, ladies. Thank you very much. Give it up for them again. Let's hear it. More of that. Just a little bit of housekeeping before we get to our next part, the final part of our evening. Hey, Twitter person that learned Twitter, what should we be doing with Twitter? What is it? The Twitter? What should we do with the Twitter? All right. So guess what you're going to do now? You're going to pull out your phones and you're going to retweet all of your pictures. We got these hashtags here. You're going to @Indivisible_ill, as in licensed to ill. We also have Happy Blue Year, which was our own creation. And then all these. So Twitter, tweet, yada, yada, yada.
Aaron, hold it up again. Hold it up again.
Twitter, we're tweeting now. Here we are on social media. Okay, all right. And it's right here. So we're going to do that. Also, I am a PR person, so I didn't have a table tonight because I was running around. But see me if you want to, and when we're done here, the tables are still going to be out there. So if you didn't see the tables, please stop by every single one of the tables. I have bribery items for you. If you go to every table, you get a button from me. Right? So do that. And I don't have a table, but I'm the PR person. One of the things I did is I helped Lenny and Kelly and Karen G and everybody else do this event tonight, so I can talk to you about partnering with community. Doing things like this and having wonderful spaces like this. In the bags, and actually, Missy, you need to figure this out, because in the bags, Theater Wit, who graciously, gave us this space tonight and helped us out with all the tech and the bar and everything. Yeah, give it up, Theater Wit. Those of you who got the gift bags, there's 2 tickets to see
Admissions, which is a play about white privilege in the college realm in April. So those of you who got gift bags, you have tickets to that. But you know what? Come back and support people like this that do stuff for us. Kubo across the street, which gave us food. Giordano's, which gave us food. You can talk to me about how we do that. Don't leave when we're done because we're going to take a photo. So have your sign and get ready to take a photo. So in addition to those thank yous, the Gunnel Pumpers, the band, they donated. Some of you in the gift bags, you have CDs. So support these people that support you. So support Theater Wit, support Giordano's, Kubo's, and the Gunnel Pumpers. Like them on Facebook. Put them on the Twitter machine. Tip your waitstaff, please. And you know what? Drink a lot if that's your jam, because the more drinking you do, the more it gets the cost gets covered. So hey, drink some if you want to, and don't drink and drive. And quickly, we're going to introduce our special guest coming up here. But I wanted a tiny little bit of information is he's going to our special guest, formerly known as State Senator. Is going to talk a little bit about what he believes in, but also HR 1. I just wanted to give you a preview because after this we're going to do a mock town hall because we're all about practicing and putting our skills into action. So be thinking about questions because he's going to be playing kind of a jerky politician, which is out of his bailiwick. It's going to be fun. He's going to play a jerky politician. You have to bird dog him. And so HR 1 is about nationwide automatic voter registration, huh? What up? So think about questions that you might ask maybe some not so happy representatives about that. Online voter registration, addressing partisan gerrymandering, and supporting small dollar donations and cutting off the influence of lobbyists. All right? So be thinking about that because we're going to do that when we have our practice town hall, but the person that's going to lead our practice town hall is Daniel Biss.
Good evening. Let's try that again. Good evening. Good evening. There it is. Thank you so much. This is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful beginning of a blue, blue year. Happy Blue Year. Thank you for coming out tonight. I'm Daniel Biss. I'm still a state senator for another hot second. Don't kick me out quite yet. I've got some more hours in me. And I have a story. A couple years ago, almost, the beginning of March of 2017, I had arranged with some friends in Glen Ellen, who turned out to be involved in Indivisible Glen Ellen, that we would have a town hall meeting out there. And I was very excited because I didn't know anybody in Glen Ellen, and I thought it'd be really fun and interesting and a way to meet new people and learn new things. And I was all like keyed up and amped up and ready to go. And then the day before the town hall, the organizer called me and said, we have 6 RSVPs, we're canceling. And I said, no, you're not. What I meant was, no, I want to do this, don't be mean to me, don't cancel. But what I said was, no, this is a great organizing opportunity. You've got 24 hours, the starting gun goes off now, call everyone you know, email everyone you know, see what kind of crowd you can build on very short notice. And the next day, in the Glen Ellen Civic Center, there was a room like this with people poking their heads in through the door, barely able to fit in the room. Now, as a politician, it would be extremely easy for me to say that was because people wanted to see me. That is not why those folks were in the room, trust me. They'd never heard of me, they didn't care, it didn't matter. They needed to be a part of the resistance, and that was a moment that the resistance was gathering in town, and they wanted to be in that room, and I felt something happening in that room that seemed incredibly special. So, a few months later, I was having a glass of wine with a Democratic Party leader out in the western suburbs who will not be named during the course of this anecdote. And I was like, dude, there is something happening in DuPage County. There is energy, there is passion, there is commitment. And do you know what he said to me? He said, I know, there's all this energy, but here's the bad news. They all want to take out Peter Roscom, and they don't realize that's impossible. And so they've all showed up and started all this activism, and then they're going to run into the brick wall that is Peter Unstoppable Roscom. They're going to get beat on November 6, 2018. They're going to be so demoralized, they're going to crawl right back into the woodwork. So, I mean, I wasn't there, but I heard on the internet that Sean Casten voted for Nancy Pelosi today for Speaker of the House. Someone told me that Lauren Underwood voted for Nancy Pelosi for Speaker of the House today. And I'm telling you this story not just because it's fun to dunk on some poor helpless party official from DuPage County.
Sure it is.
And that's just not why I'm telling you the story. There's collateral benefits. I'm telling you the story because that's what everybody thought back then. And you changed that. You changed that. We changed that. We changed the political map in this country. We completely transformed what's possible. We changed what's possible in this state and in this country. And the critical thing about that is that the changing of what's possible doesn't end with blue and red on an election map on election day and then walks right into the Capitol building, where what's possible today in the Capitol building in Washington and in the Capitol building in Springfield is unlike what people had imagined. And when I talk about, obviously I had strong views about the gubernatorial primary here in Illinois, but I also had strong views about the gubernatorial general election here in Illinois, and that one turned out the way I wanted it to. And now we've got a governor who's committed to raising the minimum wage in Illinois to $15 an hour. We tried to fight to raise the minimum wage to $10 an hour 4 years ago, and we lost that fight. And now we're looking at 15. This is a real transformation. We have record supermajorities of Democrats in the House and Senate, and a governor committed to finally changing the Constitution so at long last we can have a progressive income tax in the state of Illinois. That is transformational. That is transformational. And after years and years of people, like a lot of us in this room, frankly, saying, listen, we are not going to get what we need out of Congress on health care while the pharmaceutical and insurance industries have the control they have over Washington. We're not going to get what we need out of Congress on clean energy and the environment while the fossil fuel industry plays the role that it plays in our system. We're not going to get what we need out of Congress on workers' rights while the Chamber of Commerce plays the role that it plays. After years and years of us saying that, and most of the establishment saying, yeah, you're right, but we'll get to that some other day, today, the Democratic majority in the United States House of Representatives filed as their first bill, House Resolution 1, a dramatic, sweeping set of reforms about lobbying, about gerrymandering, about voters' rights, and yes, about money in politics. Money in politics. And listen, I'm not naive. I don't think that Mitch McConnell's going to wake up tomorrow morning and say, well, that's a good idea. I didn't get a chance to watch the entire Donald Trump press conference today, but I don't believe he signed off on H.R. 1 this afternoon. Correct me if I'm wrong, that'd be great. But when the Democratic Party establishes that as a top priority, that's going to have ripple effects for the presidential primary, for the positions that our candidates take in that primary, and for what the Democratic trifecta majorities in House and Senate and the White House are going to do starting January 2021. But speaking of Democratic trifectas, we've got one now in Springfield. Let's use it. Let's use it. And let's not only use it in the ways I mentioned before, let's take the parts of H.R. 1 that are not yet law in Illinois, because some are, right? Automatic voter registration, for example, that was a big fight that we won in the last few years. We have that already in Illinois. Thank you to all of you who helped fight for that. But other things, like public financing of campaigns, we don't have yet in Illinois. And we could pass that with our Democratic supermajorities in the House and Democratic supermajority in the Senate and our new Democratic governor. We could do that here. So let us take that energy in Washington. Let us organize for what we will do with our Democratic majorities in Washington in 2021. But let's also have those fights right now in Springfield, because we could change politics in Illinois pretty quickly if we organize all of this energy, all of this intention to transform what's possible in the state capitol building in Springfield, because, man, things continue to need to change there as well. So thank you for understanding that our job was not to take orders about how to fit into the system that existed before. Our job was to build a new system. Our job wasn't to try to figure out how in God's name we were going to deal with the broken realities of what was possible before. Our job was to change what's possible. Our job wasn't to look at the districts that some spreadsheet had concluded were probably going to be winnable in the old way of thinking. Our job was to transform that spreadsheet, to bring a new way of thinking and a new politics to our country. We are halfway there. We've got 2 more very, very hard years of work. But I feel better today than I have felt at any time since Donald Trump was elected president. Thank you. Thank you. So now I'm supposed to change character. Just for reference, what you just saw was the real me. But now we thought it'd be fun to do some exercises. And here's where the genesis of this came from. And Karen and I had a really good talk about this. When you're the elected official, it is sometimes not that difficult to assume a posture of, yeah, listen, I get your question, but let me tell you how it really is. And then in assuming that posture, it's sometimes not so hard to completely dodge the actual question being asked. And if you're good at it as an elected official, I wouldn't know this from experience, of course, but if you're good at it as an elected official, you can even have your constituent leave the interaction thinking that you said yes to a thing that matters, when actually you said yes to a thing that doesn't matter. My favorite example of this is we had 2 years and 6 days, in case you were counting, which you would have been if you relied on state services to stay alive, as many people do, of no budget at all in the state of Illinois. And people would come to my office all the time, people who were absolutely heartsick and hurting in profound ways from the lack of a budget. And they would sit across the table from me and they would say, Daniel, we need a budget. And I would say, you're right, we do need a budget. And they would say, oh, that's great. And they would say, but Daniel, we've got to fight for a budget. And I would say, you're right, I am going to fight for a budget. And they would say, oh, that's great too. And they would say, Daniel, this needs to end. And I would say, it does need to end. And there would be this kind of blizzard of agreement. And they'd get up to leave. And then I'd say, hey, could you just sit down for a second? You didn't ask me for anything specific. You didn't come out of here with the promise I'm going to do anything different. But the thing that hasn't been working, that's been happening so far hasn't been working, so you need me to do something different. And so then I would say, let's just sit down and run this conversation again. And let's think about some specific things that you could ask other legislators who you're going to go see in the next meeting and the meeting after that, so you can walk out of those meetings either with concrete commitments to do specific things that will make a difference, or else with the knowledge that your legislator is not willing to do that. So, with that introduction in mind, I want you to kind of close your eyes and then reopen them. I should have brought a hat or something, or a scarf. Reopen them and see before you an unsympathetic member of Congress.
Let's call him Reader Proscom.
I don't like this as much as I used to, but okay, cool. You can call me Reader.
And so he's going to be a jerk, and then he's going to side coach as Daniel.
And so here we are in maybe a town hall that I never have, or likely or a chance meeting on the way from a fundraiser to a car, or at O'Hare, a place that most members of Congress cannot avoid. And you run into me, and I want someone to volunteer to make an ask of this congressman.
All those things we talked about. Voters, here, I'm going to run the mic out. Yeah? You know what happens if you point? That means that you get to ask the question.
Karen, there's one back. Way out of the way.
Sorry. All right. Do it, yeah. So let's ask a good question.
Reader, there are a lot of people hurting right now. Wages have been stagnant for decades, and rent keeps going up. We have a ban that was put in place here in Illinois by ALEC 20 years ago, and we need your support as a co-sponsor the bill to lift the ban on rent control and put rent control throughout Illinois. Can I count on your support?
And if you ask a question, you get a button. So.
You know, David, I really appreciate you asking that question, because we do have a crisis and people are hurting because they can't afford rent. And I want to tell you the different ways that I've fought to make sure that people can afford to stay in their homes. Friends of mine who are sometimes pushed out of their homes, friends who my heart grieves for.
Answer the question.
I have fought for tax credits for people to stay in their home. I have fought for federal budgets that allow us to provide the kind of vouchers that enable people to stay in their home. I've fought for the kind of investments that create jobs for people. And I'm looking really closely at all the different options we have on the table to make sure that what we do to give people the ability to pay for their homes doesn't backfire, doesn't have any kind of negative effect, doesn't result in doing the opposite of what we hope it might, doesn't result in unintended consequences like we've seen in places like San Francisco. You can count on me to find the right path forward without those kinds of dangerous unintended consequences.
So what you're saying is you're an ally of the cause, and we can count on you to co-sponsor the bill.
What I'm saying is that you can count on me to find the best solutions, working together with all the different stakeholders, all sitting at the table, and find the way forward that's going to work for all the different constituencies in our community. I'm going to fight hard for that. Thank you very much. It's been really great talking to you.
You're good friends with Senator Maddie Hunter, I'm sure, and she's the main sponsor on this bill, and you know, I'm sure you know her reputation. You know how hard she works for her constituents. I'm sure as hard as you work for yours. So we need you to co-sponsor on this bill. We need your signature today. And I can't leave your office until I have a commitment for you. This is the most comprehensive, most progressive legislation that has been put forward. It has been researched based on every bit of rent control that has been done across the country. This is going to change hundreds of thousands of people's lives, and you just said you're an ally. So I need you to co-sponsor. Can I get your signature?
Well, what I need to do is talk to Senator Hunter. You're right, she's a good friend. We've worked together on a lot of things, especially around affordable housing. So here's what I'm going to do. As soon as you leave the office, I'm going to call Senator Hunter. We're going to have a conversation about what I can best do to move the cause forward. You can count on me to be fighting for issues that allow people in our district to afford to stay in their homes.
I could save you a whole lot of time if you sign on the dotted line. I'm already working with Senator Hunter. I can assure you that she's going to enjoy the fact that your support. All you need to do is sign. Just go ahead and sign right now.
You would never be helping me to avoid a conversation I might have with Senator Hunter. That's one of my very favorite things to do. And so I'm going to give her a call, And I'm going to see what I can do to figure out the best way for me to help the cause, and we'll move forward from there. Thank you.
I know the best thing that she can hear when she answers that phone is you saying, Maddie, I signed on.
I'm going to have to check in with her, and we'll see where that goes.
I'm calling her now. I've got her on the phone. Here you go.
What are your objections to this bill? We know that Senator Hunter has already done all the research. You know her reputation. You've worked with her before. You said you're an ally to the cause. What are the questions that you have? What is it what are your objections here? Because as far as I can tell, there's nothing preventing you from going ahead and signing on that press release and saying that you're going to co-sponsor the bill.
So I think we should cut it off. You nailed it. So let's give David a hand. So, if I had to critique that, which is not much to critique, I would say leave it with the discomfort. Don't keep asking more questions. Don't. You gave me an out at the end to name my concerns, and I could have created another filibuster around that, and then given you homework, right? I could have given you an assignment about you tell me exactly what the difference between this and the San Francisco situation is, and I've heard bad things about San Francisco. I think the way you just kept on keeping the original questions the same and consistent and direct, and like you were beating me, I was, you were more polite than these folks. You didn't yell the word filibuster at me, but everybody knew I was filibustering, and everybody knew that you were going to walk out of there. You were going to either walk out of there mad or with a clear yes. And I think that kind of clarity in the interaction is the most important thing. So let's give Dave another hand.
If you're not comfortable, where do you learn how to do that? Indivisible guide. And here, now, who else is going to try it? Let's do one or two more. Yeah, awesome.
Well, I want to say one other thing. If you're not sure you're comfortable doing that, find a friend who is and tag along. Because one of the things that we have on our side, the politicians, is we are very comfortable in the room where the conversation is happening. We are very familiar with the type of conversation and the feel of the conversation. So if you haven't been to see a legislator and you're not sure if you feel at ease doing that on your own, go with somebody else and just listen the first time. And then after it's over, workshop it and think about what you could have done differently. And then do it again to a different legislator with another partner. You don't have to be on your own, and it takes some time to have the persistent aggressiveness of David.
All right, and we have Raymond. Let's give it up for Raymond.
So, Mr. Reader, I'm a college student. Well, actually, I'm a senior about to enter my college experience, and I was wondering, for like the past 10 years, the tuition prices of colleges have been going up, and it's been harder for students of Illinois to go out of state and have these different experiences to learn about what's outside of the state and to go out on like these different experiences. And I was wondering, where are you and your stance on helping students, particularly students from Chicago who are from from just in general, just students who are have low income backgrounds in the state of Illinois, who want to go out of the state but can't afford it?
Well, first of all, thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your questions. You have thoughts about what you're hoping to do next year?
Yeah, actually, I was wondering of doing poli-sci. So I was just wondering if I could, go to a nice school, maybe in DC or just somewhere else that, won't cost me an arm and a leg to be able to have those experiences. And so what I'm asking you basically is, what is your proof that you're going to stand with students who can't afford to go out of state to have these experiences? What are your specific legislation that you would be willing to support currently?
Great. Well, there's two different problems we have right now in Illinois. The first is that we haven't had a budget. We haven't had a good budget for longer than that. And so our public universities and community colleges have been hit and hit again and hit harder and harder and harder. So we've got to reverse that. We have to find a budget that properly invests in our universities, that properly invests in our community colleges, that stops asking them to do more and more with less, because they've been hiking their tuition because the state's not been doing its share. That's job number one. But then there's job number two. Illinois has a grant program, the MAP program, that was designed to be need-based tuition assistance to Illinois students attending college or university in Illinois, public or private. Back when that program was created, it was enough to meet all the need of all the students who applied. Now, half the students don't even get a penny because all the money's dried up, and those who do get money get, on average, less than half of what they need. So I'm fighting for a budget not only that funds the universities and community colleges properly so they can stop hiking tuition, but also a budget that funds the MAP program so that students who don't have the resources to pay that tuition have the assistance they need from the state of Illinois. If we get that funded properly the way it used to be, then college will actually again be affordable for Illinois students.
So that's nice. But I'm asking, maybe like increase the supplements for the Pell Grant? Or, how about creating situations where colleges don't have to, charge so much? Or how about ask from the Department of Education to, do something about students that have already graduated, that have, millions of dollars in debt, I understand that there are opportunities in Illinois. I'm not saying that, they don't exist. But I'm just asking, how will that affect me when I'm not asking you to create opportunities for me in Illinois when I don't necessarily want to utilize them? And I'm not the only student, obviously, who are looking to go out of the state. I'm just simply asking, what are you going to do to make sure that students that want to go out of state can actually do it and will have the opportunities to do it?
Right. Well, I'm sorry. David had me so pinned to the wall in my role as an evil state legislator that I didn't realize you were pinning me to the wall in my role as evil congressman. So I'm now going to be an evil congressman. I apologize. Yeah, you know what? Pell Grants aren't enough. Pell Grants haven't grown the way the cost of college has grown. That's not right. That doesn't make sense. So we're going to be hopefully passing a budget, a regular budget in a regular order. And in that budget process, I'm going to be fighting for us to increase the funding for Pell Grants. I'm going to be fighting for us to actually increase the funding available to assist students across the country, whether they're from here or from somewhere else, whether they're attending school here or attending school somewhere else, to actually have the assistance they need to make it affordable. That's what the purpose of the Pell program is. And that's a purpose that is simply not kept pace with the radical change in tuition that we've seen now for really 2 generations.
So thank you for telling me that. So if you're saying that you want a regular budget, then how about maybe, sometime during this month that we hear about you introducing legislation and a budget so that the House can actually have a debate on increasing Pell Grants and actually being able to increase this funding for students so that they can go out of the state for school?
Well, here's the problem. There's 435 members of the House, and if I go and I say, this is just, Reader Proskam's personal budget. Here's the budget that I think we ought to have. That leaves 434 members of Congress who are all of a sudden saying, wait a second, what about my ideas? Why is this guy claiming the right to be the one to push us in this direction? So what I think would be a more effective use of my seat in Congress would be to work behind the scenes, to push my colleagues to prioritize this, to make sure that what we're talking about in Washington is that when we're making difficult budgetary choices, we're not going to let Pell Grants wind up 3rd or 4th or 8th or 10th or 12th on the list, and therefore on the chopping block, we're going to put them at the top of our list, because that's what enables us to educate the next generation of people across this country.
All right, let's give it up for Raymond. Let's get a woman. I want to hear a woman. Buttonhole, bird dog, reader, Poscom. Do we have a woman? Come on, ladies. Team Estrogen? All right, there we go.
All right. While Julie's getting ready to, this is a ringer, this is not fair. While Julie's getting ready to do this, I just want to say Raymond was awesome. Give it up for Raymond again. But the only thing I would say is and you had exactly 14 seconds to prep for this meeting with evil Congressman Proscom. So it's a bit of an unfair situation, but ideally, you want to come into that meeting with as specific a request as possible, right? Because for the congressman to walk away being like, yeah, I'm fighting for more Pell Grants, that just vanishes into thin air. But if there's a particular piece of legislation, if a particular member of Congress is pushing a particular thing, if there's a particular budgetary level that people are credibly committing, it might not go below. If there's a particular goal, whether it's all the way shooting for free tuition at public universities or something more modest, if it's something specific where they have to say yes or no, it is much, much harder to dance away while making you feel like they're on your side without really doing anything for you. So that specificity is absolutely critical.
All right, let's do the rapid fire, speed round. What do you got? Give it up for Joy. I'm loud too.
Okay, so now you're a congressman? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah.
Okay. So you have constituents. You want to protect your constituents. Your constituents sometimes get sick, right?
Yes.
Okay. So sometimes that sickness could be what many people refer to as a pre-existing condition. Are you familiar with those?
Very much.
Okay. Are you familiar with women? So you know that half of the population of the country is women.
In my district office, it feels like more than half.
So then, oftentimes women will have pre-existing conditions that you who are not a woman might not know are pre-existing conditions. Okay? So my question to you is, protecting the population, protecting health, protecting all of those things. You voted over 60 times to repeal the ACA. Within that repeal included defunding Planned Parenthood. Explain.
Oh, I strongly support coverage for people regardless of pre-existing conditions. And we are designing a healthcare plan right now, that's going to continue coverage of pre-existing conditions without all of the terrible consequences of Obamacare. Where you see it now with premiums going through the roof and the markets are destabilized and people have this insurance that turns out not to cover very much when they actually get sick. That's not the solution. That's not the solution. But I'm someone who stands strongly for coverage for people, coverage regardless of pre-existing conditions. And that's something that I'm going to continue fighting for. We're going to have that bill. We're going to have that bill. We're going to fight for that bill. And it's going to cover every single person regardless of pre-existing conditions.
Strike one, two more.
So you've been in Congress for a minute, right? So when did you get elected?
2006.
How has that healthcare been working for you thus far in terms of trying to get that bill in place and trying to get that coverage for what you've been working on? And again, I repeat the question of why do you continue to vote to defund Planned Parenthood?
You know, when I talk to my constituents, they are a broad variety of views. There are a lot of pro-choice people in my district, a lot of pro-life people in my district. I respect all my constituents, but most people in my district say they don't think the federal government should be funding abortion. And so that's why I've taken the votes that I've taken. That's something that I continue to support. But I think it's also really important to say, you know, it's a long time ago now, but it's worth remembering that, you know, the Obama administration crammed through Obamacare in a big rush, trying to solve this really complicated issue in a partisan way. And honestly, we're still suffering from that. I don't think that's the right way to do healthcare. That's why what we're committed to doing, not only Republicans, but Republicans, independents, and some Democrats as well, is to work together to really deliberately and carefully and meticulously solve this problem. Make sure that premiums come down. Make sure that coverage goes up. Make sure that we don't do this discrimination based on pre-existing conditions, and we do it the right way.
All right, one more. Give it to him.
So just to eliminate this, and I'm not going to even wait for your rebuttal, but federal funding does not pay for abortion services. But if it did, that'd be okay, because everybody should have access to that health care, regardless of how much money they make, how they get their health care coverage. There was a bill that actually happened in Illinois at the state level that expanded coverage for abortion care to make sure that everybody has access to it, because that's a basic human right. Because another thing you may not know, abortion is legal. That's been happening for 46 years. And so, again, just to reiterate my point of stop defunding Planned Parenthood, or rather voting to do that, defunding means Medicaid, okay? There's no line item in the budget. There's nothing that says, Planned Parenthood, here's your money from the government. No, it's reimbursement for Medicaid. So while you, as a member of Congress, aren't on Medicaid and don't have to rely on that for your health care coverage, a whole lot of people do. And they deserve the access to the care. So stop trying to take that away from them and start listening to the people. There are many women in this room. We can tell you all about birth control.
All right, give it to Julie. And Daniel, what's your laptop? What is female?
And just as a side note, Daniel Biss is awesome on reproductive health care. Planned Parenthood gave him an award a couple years ago for a bill that he sponsored called the Healthcare Right of Conscience. He's super.
Yeah, I mean, so you saw what I was trying to do there, right? I was trying to obviously obfuscate with Obamacare isn't perfect, but also try to turn every conversation about abortion into as wedgy a conversation as I possibly could. And, you know, Julie's a professional, but I think she did something really important, which is to separate her rebuttal into two parts. Right? I was like, listen, I get it. I'm not an ideologue on this. I understand I have a lot of pro-choice constituents. I respect their point of view, but we can't have federal funding of abortion. And there's two responses to that. One is, yeah, we can. That would be good. And the other is, that wasn't my question.
Thank you.
And I think Julie did a really, really good job of getting both of those in. Not feeling like she had to pick one or the other, but also not sort of mixing them up into one stew. Because again, the clarity and the bright lines are really where you win these fights. Thank you very much.
And Daniel's going to head up the stairs because we're going to take a picture. You can sit in the middle of the stairs like Sound of Music style. Everybody get your signs out. And after Letty takes the pictures, everybody head up there if you can. Moosh up, get your signs up. Danny, you can sit on the stairs, whatever. And then remember, we have about 20 minutes left, so stop by the bar, tip the bartender. And the booths are still open, so if you haven't hit all the booths, please hit all the booths before you leave. Make sure you're visible. I think maybe sit because there's people behind you. But we're in theater. Think about your sight lines, right? All right, and Lenny's going to figure this out here. Come on, Julie. You know what? Get up there. Get up there, Julie. Get your by name going. All right, and so the people in the back row, you can stand up. If you are able to stand up, that'd be awesome. But hold your signs and make sure we can see your beautiful face, and you're not blocking anybody either. And remember to take pictures and put them on Twitter and hashtag them? The Twitter. That's what the kids are saying. The kids today.
Oh, are you okay? Are you okay?
Oh yeah, hashtags. While we're getting organized, the hashtags are Happy Blue Year, @Indivisible Ill, and maybe @Indivisible
David,
Team.
get in the picture.
And then these.
Get in the picture, David. In the picture.
I know,
I don't
but
care. Over there.
we'll
Anywhere.
move it down and we'll get on with that.
Julia Sampson, I don't see you in the
Get up
picture.
there. Get up there, people.
Marcus, I don't see you in the picture.
Yeah,
You
Marcus-
must be in the
Marcus
picture.
is up there. Marcus is the gift card guy. Come on.
What's wrong with you?
He's gift card guy. Gift card guy. Gift card guy. Gift card guy.
If anyone has questions about Indivisible National, please see Marcus. Indivisible National is in the house.
Yay. All right. Are we good? Are we taking pictures?
I hope so. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Excuse me. Everybody alien? Here we go. Whose house? Whose house? Whose house? Whose house? Whose house? Whose house? Indivisible! 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 Show me what democracy looks like!
This is what democracy looks like!
Show me what democracy looks like!
This is what democracy looks like!
Show me what democracy looks like!
This is what democracy looks like!
Show me what democracy looks like!
This is what democracy looks like!
Everybody go, Lenny,
Okay.
Lenny,
Stop.
Lenny, 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 Lenny. Oh, and Denise is our official photographer. Denise is awesome. Everybody go, Denise!
I need you to get in the picture.
All right.
Get in the picture.
I'll get in the
Oh,
picture.
yeah.
So I've taken
Get in
them
the
off
picture.
here.
Okay, listen. I want you to know, I just want you to know two things. Two things. First of all, you matter. Oh my God. Your voice matters. Your vote matters. Your showing up matters. So please continue to do so. Thank you for being here. Secondly, before you leave this building, you will connect one person you don't know with another person that you don't know. Okay? You will do it, right, David? Yes? And we will amplify ourselves times 3. What are you doing over there? Get in the picture. Jeremy! Jeremy, come here. Jeremy.
All right. Oh, this is our host, Jeremy, who runs the
All right.
Of course, it's a 501c3